So as we continue to wait for and wonder, is Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz going to be charged for possibly child sex trafficking and or other crimes? The investigation is ongoing. Matt Gaetz has retained lawyers expert in defending against sex crimes. As we wonder about that, his behavior continues to become more and more outrageous. And over the weekend, Matt Gaetz actually, I guess you could call it joking. I'm not really sure. Matt Gaetz joked about blowing up Capitol metal detectors with explosives. This, of course, relates to the metal detectors that were installed at the Capitol, at least in part because it was believed that some Republican members of Congress, including Lauren Boebert, maybe others, Madison Cawthorn has talked about being armed, being protected, bringing weapons onto the House floor. So we're going to go through this piece by piece. Mediaite article says, while campaigning for a Republican congressional candidate in Central Florida on Saturday, Congressman Matt Gaetz complained about the metal detectors in the Capitol, lying about why they were installed and going so far as to joke about blowing them up with explosives. The Florida congressman was in Lake County to campaign for Florida State Rep Anthony Sabatini, who is running for Congress in 2022 and shares Gaetz' support for former President Donald Trump. Gaetz mentioned Congresswoman Lauren Boebert's objection to the metal detectors that were installed in the Capitol complex shortly after the Trump riots. Multiple Republican lawmakers loudly complained about the metal detectors, claiming they were a violation of their constitutional rights. They weren't. And Boebert was among those who attempted to circumvent the screening by walking around the metal detectors or refusing to allow her bag to be searched. All right, so let's take a look at the first clip here. Here is Matt Gaetz talking about blowing up the metal detectors in the House with either tannerite or C4 explosive.
My friend Lauren Boebert from Colorado, they put in metal detectors on the floor of the House because it's like a 5'0" woman. She carries a firearm for her personal protection. So, they got triggered by that. I said, man, is it tannerite or C4 we want to put in those metal detectors when we blow them up and we take them to charity?
Yeah. Now, in all seriousness, this is the exact type of thing that causes stochastic violence, if not stochastic terror. Aside from whether it's even appropriate, absent any real-world implications, for a sitting member of Congress to be joking about, or maybe not joking, talking about blowing up the chamber in which he works and votes and in which legislative duties are carried out. Whether you can say that's fine or it's not fine or whatever. If you have an understanding, if you recognize and realize the degree to which disproportionately the types of people that follow someone like Matt Gaetz are folks who would be willing to do violence in real life to solve political issues, you start to realize this could actually encourage someone to go and to try to set off a bomb at the House. Now, would they get into where the metal detectors are? Maybe not, but that's not really a defense. We've talked about stochastic terror. Given a large enough audience, if you hammer on and hammer on and hammer on an idea and radicalize people against a person or institution, it starts to become statistically likely that someone, it wouldn't be predictable exactly who, but sorry for hitting my mic, that someone is going to go out and actually act on that. Now, as a reminder, we recently had more context to this. Lauren Boebert was recently interviewed by cultural critic and arbiter of ideas Dave Rubin, and Lauren Boebert sort of smiled and laughed and kind of took credit, supposedly, for the metal detectors even being there. Remember this from last week?
Nancy Pelosi has called me the enemy within. We have metal detectors outside of the House chambers because of me. And so it seems.
So they now are ridiculing what are actions that had to be taken because members of Congress posed a risk in terms of the weapons they were trying to bring in. As I said last week, it's not something to be proud about that your place of work had to put in metal detectors because of your actions. It's not something that I would be humiliated if that were the case. Also from the same very strange appearance, here Matt Gaetz says he thinks Democrats are going to see how many Republican votes are there, and then they will illegally create Democratic votes to counter that, sort of like as a one-to-one thing, completely baseless, no evidence of this. Take a look at Matt Gaetz' suggestion.
I really think they, like in Fulton County, Georgia, I think they wait and they see how many votes the Republicans got in the other parts of the state, and then that's how many they need to like will into existence.
So that's a completely unfalsifiable claim. You can always look at election results and say, oh, Democrats won by 1,000. Democrats actually really lost by 1,000, but they checked how many Republican votes they were, and then they created 2,000 Democratic votes to take 1,000 vote lead. Completely unfalsifiable, hasn't happened, no evidence that it's happened, no evidence that Democrats have attempted it, just more poisoning the well. That type of thing only works on ignorant voters. There's no evidence that that's done, and it would be completely unfalsifiable. You can look at any election result. And in fact, they're doing it. Mike Pillow does it and these people do it. They say, no. Trump really won Wisconsin by 200,000. Really? Where's the evidence? Well, they won't give us the evidence. Oh, okay. Well, then, so how would we, he really won. You can't falsify a lot of these things. And that's what makes them great fodder for low information voters.